Thorny, as we venture into the R&R, two truths are consistent. We love our dear Montana State, and we love great beer. And you know who else feels the same? Jeremiah Johnson Brewing. Brewed in the heart of Montana in downtown Great Falls, Jeremiah Johnson takes Montana's finest ingredients to craft some of Montana's favorite beers. And now, Jeremiah Johnson's second tap room is open in downtown Coeur d'Alene. Their Citra IPA is probably one of my favorites. But we all know, Thorny, you're not the hop lover I am. You're more of a Mountain Man Scotch Ale.
Well, Foley, I'm certainly not a mountain man, but you are right. I do love their Mountain Man Scotch Ale. But come game day, you and I are both cracking their Golden Bobcat Pale Ale. So when you're looking for a quality craft beer brewed with Montana roots, a relaxing tap room, or just a six-pack to take to your favorite Bobcat tailgate, Jeremiah Johnson delivers. Make your next beer a Jeremiah Johnson, and as always, go Cats.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right. Welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Catcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. Across the state from me, stroking his beard, it's my good buddy, Ryan Thornburg.
Deep in thought.
We are the Ryans of the R&R, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network, and we are brought to you by Jeremiah Johnson, brewing dank beers in downtown Great Falls with a second tap room in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Thorny, how you doing, buddy?
Flight, check. Hotel, check. Tickets, check. I'm fantastic, man. How you doing?
Good point, dude. We got it all in the bag.
It's all lined up.
Great. Everything we have dotted the I's and crossed the T's. We're going to Frisco, baby.
Going to Frisco. Waited our whole lives for this. I'm feeling pretty good.
Hey, I think we even have a car. We have a rental car.
We do. We are
adulting.
We are adulting. Yes, I'm over 25 years old. Rental company. Boom.
Can you imagine the legions of Montana State fans just going to Frisco? And I think we're all going to feel the same thing. We're going to get there and we're going to be like, what do we do? Where should we go? And then you'll look to the Bison fans and the Bison fans will be like, just come this way. This
is my seventh time here, people.
You're going to want to take a left over here, cross this street. Don't go to that restaurant. There, I had some food poisoning back in the day, but you want to go to these ones over here. So
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Fans.
Yeah, conversing with them, getting tips from them and stuff, because I'm sure that's what's going to happen. But it's going to be a blast, man. I'm excited. I'm super excited about that. That since we didn't get to go to the semifinal game, this will make up for it.
Absolutely. The Cat fans are going to be like the freshmen going to the prom.
It's true.
And the Bison fans are going to be like the seniors who are like, man, I can't wait to get out of here.
I think that might play into our hands here, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah. All righty. Okay, so welcome to the R&R Catcast. I said that already, but why not say it again? Hey, thanks for joining us. We are just always happy to have just the fan support. We were talking about this just prior to getting on, like how many listens we're getting lately, and just like the contacts and the people like reaching out to us. It's just been super fun. But going off a little bit tangent, let's talk about what's going on today. We're going to talk about the news. We do have some news that came out just today. We'll talk a little bit about Freddie Banks being hired on over at Colorado State. Coach Vegan had a press conference, and of course he gave a little bit of information on just how they're going to do the prep going into the national championship game, and also some injury status stuff that I think the Bobcat fans will appreciate. And then we'll get right into the game recap, our semifinal game, our 31-17 win against South Dakota State over in Bozeman, and we'll finish up with some Golden Coolies.
Sounds great, man. Yeah, we're going to skip the preview today because we're going to have a special guest on to help us out later in the week.
All right. Let's start out with what's in our Golden Coolies. Thorny, what do you got?
Oh, hold on. I got to unsheath it. I have the Cabin Fever by Boundary Bay. What kind of beer even is this? I don't know what kind of beer it is. It doesn't tell me. And embarrassingly enough, I haven't even opened it. So I'm going to crack it. And while I crack it, why don't you describe your beer and we'll come back to me and I'll tell you how it tastes. Good content. So it's all you know.
Oh, I have what's called the Dogfish 60-minute Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA. It's like one of those tall cans, like the 1-pinters. And when you put them in the coolies, they look super funny because they like it just is like it looks like it just looks stupid. Honestly, it's I bought it because our mutual friend Kyle Kinnick always talks to me and says this is one of his favorite beers. So cheers to you, Kyle.
Cheers, Kyle. All right. I'm happy to report that I like this beer. It's a nice malty, stouty thing, just a winter beer. I mean, see the can, and there's like all sorts of snow and stuff all over it. Cabin Fever kind of describes what we're going to have here for the next few weeks, too, I'm sure. 37 IBUs, 8.7%. Ooh, that's a nice beer. I like it. I would buy it again. Congratulations, Boundary Bay, who does a pretty good beer up here in Bellingham.
Nice. So, Thorny, I was at the grocery store today with my wife, and I told her, I was like, "Hey, I got to pick up a beer for the game tonight." And so we're strolling down the beer section. I was looking around, and she pulls out a 6-pack of beer, and she puts it in the cart. Total Domination IPA from Ninkasi. She's like, "You got to drink this tonight." I was like, "That I do like the idea, Liv, but the Total Domination IPA I think is pretty high in the alcohol content, and that's never good for me." So I like the more mellow, we've talked about 5.5%, 6% kind of beers. Once in a while, I'll, dip into the 7.5%, but I think the Total Domination is north of that. I might be wrong, but good on my wife. Maybe I should have got that, but this Dogfish 60-minute IPA is pretty good so far.
I had the Total Domination last year after Cat Grizz. I bought it. Solely for the name. Huh? I did suffer through it. I don't remember enjoying it in particular. I don't remember hating it, but who knows? We drink a lot of beer on this podcast, but certainly don't think I would have enjoyed it.
Right on. Yeah. Right after the game, Jeremiah Johnson tweeted out a picture of just a 6-pack of Bobcat Pale Ale. And I went through my whole stash over here already, so I couldn't even celebrate with a Bobcat Pale Ale.
We got to smuggle some down to Frisco.
Yeah. Right? I saw they were making waves over in Nebraska. So, but imagine
getting
that.
Closer.
Jeremiah Johnson. Yeah, Jeremiah Johnson beer in Nebraska. That's pretty awesome. All right. Cool. Let's talk about some news. Let's lead right into the news came out today that Freddie Banks, our defensive coordinator, is taking a job as the defensive coordinator over at Colorado State.
Man, that kind of just hit. I was just scrolling through Twitter and I saw Colton Poole retweet the football scoop. Freddie Banks being hired on as the defensive coordinator at Colorado State. And I'm just like, I did not see that coming right now. Like I was not expecting some sort of major shakeup 3 weeks ago until Frisco, like riding off this high for the win over South Dakota State. And it's just Monday and all of a sudden we get that news that our defensive coordinator's gone, which is, I think we've talked about, is not surprising because we think that we were wondering how long are we going to be able to keep Freddie Banks because we think he's an awesome coach and he's done an amazing job. Turns out, 1 season. That's the answer. As he's quickly off to Colorado State, which is in Fort Collins, to coach the Rams. Which is, somebody pointed out, he's going from a team that beat South Dakota State to go coach for a team that lost to South Dakota State this year. That's kind of funny. But so congratulations, Coach Freddie Banks. What are your thoughts when this news came out fully?
I learned it from you. Yeah, you texted me about it. Instantly sad, but not surprised. Guys deserves it. We knew he was going to be here just a short while, but it came pretty clear to me in the last couple of weeks that he is, a rising star in the coaching ranks.
Yep.
Just the way our defenses perform lately, it doesn't surprise me one bit.
No, it's definitely well deserved. I'm happy. I'm really happy for Coach Banks, and Colton did tweet out that he has sources that say he will finish coaching the season. That didn't even cross my mind that he wouldn't coach it, but I'm glad to hear that he will be coaching in the national championship. Is this karma fully? Is this karma for what the Bobcats have coached or played against the last two games? Sam Houston State's offensive coordinator, like days before the game was announced, was going to be the head coach at Delaware, right?
Yeah.
So that was just a few days before their game. And then I don't know the timing of it, but Jason Eck, the offensive coordinator for I made the mistake everyone's been making. South Dakota State takes the job at Idaho. I'm not sure if that was reported before or after the game, but I know it was rumored and there was discussions going on it. So that's 2 games in a row that we played someone who had a coordinator poached before the game was played, and here we are in the same boat now. So maybe it's karma.
It might be. Well, from the R&R, Coach Banks, we never got to talk to you, but we're super stoked for you, man. And I knew your time in Bozeman would be short. I knew that the whole time, but I'm happy you're going to be here for the national championship game, and best of luck to you, buddy.
How big of an impact do you think this has on the national championship, if at all?
Nah, I don't think it is. He's going to stay for the national championship. I don't think it has any impact on it.
You don't think it affects the morale of the players at all or anything like that?
If it does, it's going to be short-lived. They got 3 weeks to get over it.
It's true. Yeah, if we had a game coming up on Saturday, I think it'd be more likely to affect them, but they have some more time to process it and digest it and, come to terms with it and whatnot.
One thing, before we move on from Freddie, I think one of the things he's done really well, outside of a lot of things, is make adjustments in the game.
Oh, that's his strong suit, I believe, is like he comes out with a game plan, but he also keeps things very like base and mellow, it seems, until he figures out what the other team is doing. And in the second half, he just like turns the key in the ignition and we just lock it down. He is fantastic at second half adjustments. I think it's probably his biggest strength.
Yeah, he has head coaching material all over him.
It's kind of funny. I haven't heard much reports from like if the players like him. Like typically we start hearing about like, the players love playing for him. Like I haven't heard like hardly a peep about Freddie Banks in reality. Like only thing I've ever heard, is what you see on TV and his performance. But like how he interacts or how well he is liked or any of the more of the off-field kind of stuff like that, I haven't really heard very much. Have you?
Been pretty
I'm just kind of
for the whole.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like thinking about that now. I was like, I haven't really heard very much about Freddie Banks. He's been kind of quietly doing a damn good job all year.
All right, Tony, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. One name to replace Freddie Banks.
K-Ione? Might be a little pie in the sky. I mean, that'd be my first pick, but obviously I don't think it's going to happen. If we're going to go somewhere lower down, I'd love to see Bobby Daly get a shot.
Yeah. Jeff Choate.
Jeff Choate. Jeff Choate comes back to Bozeman as a coordinator is the day I eat my own shoe. I could see him like coming back to like maybe another FCS school in a coordinator position, but at Bozeman where he's done what he's done, coming back, he's like built this up to what it is. He's the man, and now he's going to come back and not be the man. I don't see that happening. No.
Yeah, Bobby Daly, I would be that.
Gregorak?
Throw the name out.
Gregorak?
Yeah, Ty. He'd be another guy I would think of. I mean, Coach Vigen's probably going to stick with the 4-2-5 system. That's going to be something. And then, Bobby Daly has a full year in that system now. He is a house name, a guy that I think all Bobcat fans would be stoked to see if he took the DC role. Early chatter on Bobcat Nation was that he was going with Freddie Banks over to Colorado. And, that might be true. So, I think Coach Vigen's coaching connections are deep. And so I'm not too concerned about what's going to happen. And, but yeah, Bobby Daly would be the first guy I would think of.
Jake Dubeck on Twitter had a great idea. Elevate Daly and bring back Jody Owens to take over the linebacker coach position that would be vacated when Daly took DC. Two of the best linebackers in the history of Montana State coaching on the same time, sign me up.
Yeah. I would love to see Jody Owens back in blue.
I would love it,
Come
man.
on.
We had him on the pod. We talked about how he kind of got the short end of the stick coming back for like one fateful year in Bozeman. I'd love to have him back on the staff to have a real crack at it.
Right on. Okay, let's move into some injury status. Coach Vegan did talk about, hey, we got 3 weeks. Chances are we're going to get all those guys back that were hurt in the South Dakota State, the Sam Houston State game. So the Chase Benson, Takata, and who's the other one?
Isaiah Fonse.
Yeah, Fonse. No, well, Fonse was out this week, but in the Sam Houston State, I'm missing one. Chase Benson, Takata, and
are you talking guys that were out the entire game at Sam Houston State?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's just a major player I'm forgetting. Anyways, it might come to me later, but he also talked about like players like Nolan Askelson, who has been hurt since Wyoming, might get a chance to play. TJ Session getting healthy again. And so this 3 weeks is going to do just wonders for a lot of the guys, right? And I'm sure we won't hear much because why would you? You should have all elements of surprise going into this game. And but just from what Coach Vegan said today, had me, excited, but I expected to hear that too. We got 3 weeks to heal up. The guys are going to get the treatments they need. Some guys will be there, some guys won't, but it's gonna look good. And then I imagine the Bison are in the same boat, right? Those guys are going to get healthy too.
Yeah, I've been hearing rumors that Christian Watson may be healthy. I think he missed almost the entire year. The speedster who burned us in 2019.
He who must not be named right there.
Yeah, that'd be bad timing if he was able to be healthy. That's good news on Benson, because I think we'll need every defensive lineman we have. Good news on Okada. Afonso, I'm hoping he's fully healthy and ready to go. That one seems more iffy to me, but we'll need him big time. We can't have Malott handing the ball off 6 times and keeping the ball 34 of the 40 times that we run the ball. That's just not going to work. Question for you. If TJ Session comes back, do you think he gets his starting spot back before we move on? Or is Rush Reimer playing well enough?
Yeah. That is a really good question because, I think he gets his spot back. But somebody said this on the board today. They're like, do you continue rolling with the guys that got you there?
I think at this point, whatever's working with the Malott show, you almost got to keep that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll obviously evaluate who they think is best in practice and who's the best in pass protection and all that good stuff. But, it's a good problem to have. Now that TJ Session is back and he may not even have a starting spot back, it's a good problem to have as an offensive line.
Okay, Thorny, let's move on. Let's get into the game that was in Bozeman, the semifinal game that was on ESPN2 against South Dakota State.
Man, how awesome was it having that game on ESPN2?
Oh,
just the full production crew, the A talent, like the A team coming over to broadcast the game. Aside from the one little weird thing they did with Mackenzie River Pizza, other than that, it was pretty good. Oh man, the stadium looked awesome. It sounded awesome. Before we get into the game, just kudos Bobcat Nation. It looked and sounded fantastic. What a fun environment. Everyone I've been reading about the best environment they've ever been to in their entire Bobcat lives, which makes me real sad I didn't go. But yeah, thanks for bringing it. Appreciate it as a Bobcat fan who couldn't make it. But let's dive into the stats of the 31-17 victory from the Bobcats over South Dakota State in the semifinals. The winner going to Frisco, Texas. The Bobcats ended with 405 yards of total offense, 229 passing yards, and 176 on the ground. Looking on the other side, the Jackrabbits had 439 yards of total offense, 315 through the air, and just 124 rushing yards for the fabled duo of Pierre Strong and Isaiah Davis. 5 penalties for the Jackrabbits for 50 yards, 3 for the Bobcats for 15 yards. We had 22 first downs for the Jackrabbits, 19 for the Cats. Both teams were pretty decent on on third down. Excuse me. Rabbits were 7 of 15. The Cats were 5 of 11. This is where the Jackrabbits were only 1 of 4 on fourth down. That's kind of something we'll get into when we start talking about this. The Cats were 1 of 1. Let's see, going on down. The time of possession was 30 minutes and 26 seconds for the Cats, 29-34 for the Jackrabbits. So pretty darn even. And then time of possession. But the big one here, 2 turnovers. One of them more consequential than the other, but 2 turnovers for the Jackrabbits and 0 for the Bobcats. So +2 in the turnover battle. Love to see that. Man, do you want to do some of the individual stats here?
Yeah. So Tommy Mellott had 388 all-purpose yards, all but 21 yards that we had in our offense went through Tommy Mellott. Well, we definitely have to talk about that. He was 10 for 15 for 233, 2 touchdowns, 2 touchdown Tommy this week. He had 34 carries, though, with 155 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns on that. Elijah Elliott was 6 carries for 21 yards. I feel like Elijah Elliott was the only other running back we saw. We didn't see Hosey.
No.
Jahari Martin lined up in the I-back formation a couple times.
Yep.
But he was mainly used as a blocker. I don't know what the deal with Hosey is. Yes, completely stumped on that. But continuing on, Lance McCutcheon was 5 catches for 98 yards, 1 touchdown. Nate Stewart was 3 catches for 92, 1 touchdown. Trayton Pickering was 1 for 33. Willie Patterson had 1 catch for 10 yards. Simeon Word had 1 interception. Stones Glessner was 1 for 1 for a 27-yard field goal. Bryce had 4 punts. I almost put his last name and punts together. Punting. Bryce Layton had 4 punts, averaged up 39.5 with a long of 55. That one pinned him back. If we talk about the Jackrabbits real quick, Ola Donkin was 23 for 35 for 315, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Pierre Strong had 14 carries for 94 yards. Most of that came on his, I think it was like a 44-yard scamper. He got free early in the second or first. I can't really remember at this point. Isaiah Davis only had 9 carries for 13 yards. Jackson Yankee had 6 carries for 97 yards. I called his last name Yankee last in the pod. It's not Yankee, it's Yankee. I apologize for the Yankee twins. Tucker Kraft, the beast of a man. Holy smokes.
It's such a load.
Jeez. People just don't look like him on the normal. He was 6 catches for 96 yards, and Jaden Yankee had 5 catches for 80 yards. So on 1 touchdown. So if you look at the offensive production for the Jackrabbits, and you look at ours, you're like, well, Jackrabbits won. But they only really did that in a half of football. It was a tale of 2 halves.
Absolutely, it was. And yeah, they really got the passing game going pretty well. 315 yards through the air. That might be the most anyone's had against the Cats this year.
Dude, they were slicing us like a hot knife through soft butter.
They were, and they had some screen games going to the tight ends, in particular Kraft. The Yankee twins had some good catches there. Like they had it going there for a while, but things definitely changed on that, and we'll get into that. But there's kind of the stat rundown for you. So,
well, I want to give a shout out real quick before we move on, because I do have one more stat related thing. Prodigal Cat from Bobcat Nation. Can you imagine if somebody was listening to our podcast and we just said Prodigal Cat? They'd be like, "What the heck are you talking about?" They're not familiar with Bobcat Nation, where people have monikers. I just thought about that. Anyways, Prodigal Cat, whoever his name, could be like a guy named Jeff, could be a girl, could be like Shirley. Who knows what Prodigal Cat is? Anyways, said the Jackrabbits had 77 yards rushing in the first quarter, and then 47 the rest of the game. I thought that was such a good stat. They were getting, I feel like the Jackrabbits were getting 5, 6, 7, 8 yards a carry. Easy. Just easy, running off the tackles against us in the first quarter. And you and I were texting early on in that game, like, here we go. This can be North Dakota State. The difference being the difference being, Ryan, we kept up with them. Like when they would attack and score, we would respond and be. I mean, we went into halftime 17-17, and they hit like a 53-yard field goal. That just bugs me to no end. Giving up a score before half is one of my biggest pet peeves of all time. But yeah, there's a big difference. We weren't getting blown out. It kind of felt like we were getting blown out because they kept driving the ball so easily, and we were relying on big plays. But yeah, it was frustrating the first half.
They didn't punt the ball once in the first half.
No.
So
I thought
they were
that was
just doing these methodical drives outside of their one big touchdown run. Most of them were long drives and several plays, like double-digit play drives, and it just seemed like they were just imposing their will, getting like the running backs were getting 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage before they were even touched. Their offensive line was just pushing around our defensive line there for a while, which is absolutely incredible to how much the script flipped in the second half. But in the first half, it was not. It was I felt like the Cats were lucky to be in the game in some ways, or like more like, how are we in this game? I feel like we're getting dominated, and yet here we are tied up. In fact, we were winning. But how important was, and this is where I want to start talking specifics, how important was that fourth down stop inside the 10-yard line? I want to talk about that. Number one, their quarterback, Oladukin, what was he doing? Why did he slide 3 yards away from the line of scrimmage, man? Like, you put your shoulder down, you plow through for a first down. That changes the entire game. But instead he slides, kind of comically gets up and signals for a first down when clearly he slid well behind the line of scrimmage. And then it gets to fourth down, and instead of kicking a field goal to go up 3-0 and get some momentum, get some points on the board, they go for it on fourth down, and a pretty good play call, and that probably works against 99% of the defenses in the FCS. But Troy Anderson, I've watched that play several times now. An absolute play. He was gonna get sucked in there, and then seemed like he kind of slapped the back of one of his own guys to kind of propel himself out sideways and tracked him down and made an outstanding open field tackle. Probably one of the best defensive plays of the entire year, if not the best, to stop him on fourth down. And we actually ended up driving down and scoring a touchdown on that. So how big of a play was that drive to stop them from scoring on fourth down and kind of seize the first momentum wave?
It was huge. It was the first time we seized momentum. As you just said, Troy Anderson, that play is going to go down as one of the all-time great plays of Troy Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
He was as fast laterally as Isaiah Davis was trying to get to the corner right there. It just seemed like when I was watching Troy, he was just like swimming his way to the side. And then it's kind of like when you see a shark take down like a seal in the water. You're like, Troy Anderson's the shark. He's like, okay, you're it, and I'm going to get you. And that was game over. It was a huge play, but it was the first time I felt it was the first time I felt the crowd. You and I watched it on ESPN. You could feel the crowd at that time. But then it was like, quick thing was like, okay, all of a sudden we have to drive 90 some yards because it was inside the 10. So it was a weird place to capture momentum. And then we hit a couple big plays. We hit, I don't know what the sequence was, but I know we hit a big play to Lance McCutcheon down the sideline that got us past the 50.
Yeah, I think that may have been the drive, and I might be missing it, conflating two drives together, but that might be the one where it's like 3rd and 7, but Malott made a big scramble to get out to like the 40-yard line. So that's what really got us out of our own end zone. I'm not sure that's the same drive, but yeah, we hit some big plays, and it was an important drive, and we came down, and we ended up scoring the touchdown. Oh, man, that's the first time you're feeling pretty good about it, but even then, South Dakota State was still pushing us around the next drive. I think they came back down and scored a touchdown right after that. Is that right? You've rewatched the game. I haven't had a chance to do that.
Yeah.
They did, yeah. I'm looking at the drive chart here. So, yes, they had
there you go.
1 minute and 21 second drive that resulted in a touchdown. Just 4 plays for 56 yards. So they did respond quite well.
Who scored that touchdown? Was that Pierre Strong?
See, that's where it doesn't tell me here. 4 plays, 56 yards. I mean, it very well could be just a 44-yard touchdown run. He had that at some point. But yeah, there it is. So that was the response. 44-yard touchdown run. Pretty much the only real good run of the day for the Jackrabbits. We held Isaiah Strong to, and here I am clicking around on my stats, and now I don't have it up in front of me, and I was going to talk about it. We held Isaiah Davis. I keep conflating those two as well. Isaiah Davis, 9 carries for 13 yards. He had been rushing for like 500 yards in the playoffs or something like that through 4 games, like 500 some odd yards. He was on an absolute tear. 9 carries, 13 yards, 1.4 yards per carry with a long of 8 yards. And even Pierre Strong, who actually I think today declared for the NFL draft, he will be foregoing any of his eligibility at South Dakota State to become an NFL hopeful. 14 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. But, you take away that 44-yard scamper, and he was 13 carries for 50 yards at that point. So, we held one of the best rushing attacks in the entire country, the best 2 running backs on the same team, basically. And, Troy Anderson was a big part of that, and it all started with that stuff of Isaiah Davis on the 5-yard line or whatever that was.
But how did it change, though? Because we were getting gashed, and then all of a sudden, second half of football came, and we one of the famous lines from that game was, late in the fourth quarter, the ESPN crew said, in the last 2 quarters, South Dakota State had -2 yards of rushing. So what changed?
I couldn't really tell you. I was looking at it. Yeah, they had 15 rushing yards in the third quarter, and they had -17 rushing yards in the fourth quarter. I'm sure part of that is Oladokin getting sacked. Those do count against the rushing totals. But yeah, that combines for -2. That's what they finished, and that is accurate. -2 rushing yards in the second half. I really couldn't tell you what changed. I think our conditioning took over. I know you wanted to talk about our conditioning. Just the constant rotation of the defensive linemen, and just whatever adjustments that Freddie Banks made. And I'm not smart enough to really see those and easily identify them on TV, but he made some big adjustments, and we looked like the fresher team. I don't know if South Dakota State finally wore down after the long season, or if we wore them down, and this would have happened even in the second game of a season. I couldn't tell you, but it certainly looked good, and it was very effective.
The way the South Dakota State line was coming off the ball in the second half, I did notice they were tired. And we just kept bringing waves after waves after waves of defensive linemen. Goes back to what I was listening to today with Coach Vegan, and he continues to talk about this. And so I think it's a very important thing is the way we prepare for the games, going back to fall camp, the way we practice. He always stresses the way that they just put more players on the field to get more reps. Ty Okada talked about this throughout the year. Daniel Hardy has talked about this. Coach Vegan has talked about this a couple times. And I don't know if I wasn't just paying attention or maybe just not thinking this was a big deal, but it's a huge deal now. I mean, we broke them with our physicality and our conditioning. We were kind of on par, I think, in the first half. Second half, man, it really showed that we were the better conditioned team.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, don't know if that was just South Dakota State playing 23, 24 games in a calendar year, but whatever it was,
Could be.
It was obvious. But it was kind of funny because I was watching that first half, and I think I even texted you, like, we look like we're the team that's played its 24th game. We were the ones that looked like we were kind of exhausted out there and just kind of getting pushed around. It wasn't anything like real bad, but that's the way it seemed like the game was going to go. Like, it looks like I felt like we were kind of hanging on by a thread in a little bit in that first half, and it was just going to get worse in the second half. But I should know better by now. Freddie Banks, still second half adjustments. He knows what he's doing.
I would love to hear what they say in the locker room. All accounts that says they're just very calm. The coaches give them what's going on and make some small adjustments, and then they just go out and play fast and physical.
Well, I also know Freddie Banks was quoted as like telling his guys to F and tackle better early in the second half. So it could be as simple as your coach chewing you out for not tackling well. It could be quite simple. Maybe it's more we're making it more complicated than it really is.
Well, hey man, this game has so much. I mean, we could talk about individual players. You could talk about individual plays. Well, we're not going to go through all that. I mean, just looking at the time, we're looking at 40 minutes about right now. I do want to talk a little bit about, let's see here. I want to talk about Troy Anderson and Tommy Mellott and kind of the passing of the guard of the face of the Bobcats. Troy Anderson, the most famous Bobcat in the last whatever, right? There's talk right now. Is Troy Anderson the best Bobcat of all time? I'm sure we're going to go over that sometime. But you had this awesome picture at the very end of the game, and Skyline's post-game press conference, they put it up on their site. There's this moment where they have, in the camera view, you have Troy on the left and Tommy on the right, and Troy looks like, I mean, he just looks like a proud father almost. And then you look at Tommy Mellott on the side, and Tommy Mellott's sitting straight up. He's got that stone face that we've been known to see from him. He doesn't smile much. I wish he would, because he seems so serious all the time. But I just got the moment. It just struck me when I was sitting there, and I wasn't even listening to the words. I was just looking at their pictures, and Troy just, Troy is just what I can't even say it, because he's everything for Bobcat fans. But you see the old guard and the new guard. It was just a cool moment for me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I guess I hadn't really realized that apparently Troy is the one who's been calling him Touchdown Tommy and will continue to do so, whether Tommy likes it or not. That was pretty funny. But yeah, it does mean a lot. I think Troy probably feels pretty good about having Tommy be kind of the next Montanan to kind of carry that Paul Bunyan type banner that he's been doing for the last few years. He probably feels pretty good to have someone doing that who can kind of take the spotlight off of him briefly for this season, but carry it moving forward.
Yeah. I think Tommy is taking it in such a good, he's just shouldering it and doesn't seem to affect him. In fact, I think it enhances his play on the field.
Yeah, definitely. But let's actually talk a little bit more about Tommy Mellott during the game. Let's kind of circle back to the game here, because I don't think we actually talked much about Tommy Mellott's performance at all during the game. I can't believe he had 34 carries. That is way more than I'd ever want to see, way more than I would have been expecting. But he was very effective, 155 yards. But he only had a long of 21 in this game. He had 4.6 yards per carry. But that's just not going to do it moving forward. I can't see us beating the Bison doing that strategy where Tommy Mellott gets 34 carries and the only other running back gets 6. But overall, man, what a gutsy performance by Tommy Mellott. The kid's like a legend already. How do you go from not being really on the radar to winning the semifinal game in your third career start? You've only started in the playoffs. You've never even started any other point in the season. And you're 3-0 in the playoffs, and you got your team in the national championship. What an absolute crazy story.
Yeah, I don't think that offense is going to work against the Bison. I think Coach Vegan knows that as well. Sometimes I feel like Mellott, when he gets into the games in this kind of we've only seen him for 3 games play quarterback. Sometimes I feel like he forgets, or maybe not forgets, but is he shouldering too much? Sometimes I think he is.
Yeah. Trying to do too much, perhaps.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. Trying to do too much. Like, just hand the ball off to Fonse. I was wondering that. I was like watching the game, and I looked at him. He gave the ball off to Fonse. Fonse scampers for 6 yards. And I was thinking in my head, I bet that felt good. Mellott, not getting tackled, not getting punished on that game. But there's no give up in that kid's eyes. He just looking to the next play. I'll take it. I'll take the pounding. But I think that's something we'll see him in his maturation process, starting to trust the other players more.
Sure.
That's something he'll get better at.
You know who kind of did that as well when he was quarterback?
Troy Anderson.
It's kind of feeling like, all right, I'll do it myself mentality. Real quick here, I do want to say that you said Afonso like twice there.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You meant Elijah Elliott. But yeah, that's a total trait of a Troy Anderson, which is, I don't know. I don't know what that is. That's just kind of funny because there's some comparisons now coming out. Is Tommy Mellott a Troy Anderson clone? I in some ways, yes, but a lot of ways, no. But that certainly some of the the work ethics and maybe the mentalities, the winner's attitude, all that kind of stuff. I could definitely draw some of that, like leadership, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's some parallels there, but can we just let them be their own people?
That's yeah. Why does everything have to be compared to someone like Tommy Mellott's Troy Anderson, Tommy Mellott's Taysom Hill? Like, just Tommy Mellott is Tommy Mellott, and he's got his own style and his own way of doing things, and that's damn good enough for me. And look at this, look at it being the national championship. It's working out just fine right now.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about his future. What next year? We'll talk about that down the road. That doesn't matter right now. What matters is he got to Frisco. And what can we do? What can Tommy Mellott do in Frisco to win that game? And that's certainly something we'll talk about later in the week when we preview North Dakota State.
The quick take on him on the other message board, I'm not going to give them any kind of...
Ooh, I haven't been over there, which is kind of funny. Like, that's a place I would normally go kind of, drink some tears. But I just wanted to celebrate Bobcats this week. But what are they saying over there?
That he only throws 50-50 balls.
Well, that's all Matt McKay did. All the whatever quarterback MSU's had this year, it's all we do is throw 50-50 balls. Well, we're in the national championship doing it, so maybe it's working out. All right.
It is kind of frustrating though, because it's a real lack of a pass game. We hit Willie Patterson over the middle on a nice play. We don't seem to do that very often though.
No, and we threw a little slant to, I think Nate Stewart caught one, like kind of falling down. That was a bullet, which is a great throw, like low and away. That's what you want to do. But I mean, yeah, most of our plays are down the sidelines. But maybe if they were stopped and thought about that over in Missoula, maybe that's the game plan. Maybe that's the offense by design. Take shots, run the ball, test the edges, and take shots down the sideline, and let our big physical receivers go get the ball. Huh?
Seems to be working. Where are we going? The national championship?
That's someplace called Frisco, Texas. Man, I think a lot of the success of the passing game, Tommy Mellott's obviously the majority of that, but Nate Stewart, man, he's really come on. He's a big dude, 6'2", 210 himself, and he was hurt all the way through like the I don't remember the first game he played. It may have been Idaho or Idaho State. I think it was Idaho. He was injured almost the entire year. He got hurt in fall camp, and he's really come on. I think because you and I talked about so much time this season, like it can't be all Lance McCutcheon. We got to have someone else step up. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, like Jaden Smith never did that this year. But Nate Stewart is taking advantage of all the opportunities coming his way. And he's turned into a solid number 2 threat.
What a story too! Like a grad transfer from Akron. Comes over to Montana State and is making this storied run to Frisco. That's got to be so like rewarding for him.
Well, especially since he got hurt too. So he's like comes over as a grad transfer, gets hurt, but he keeps getting extra games. So he's going to get almost a full season out of it yet.
Right on.
But yeah, it's got to be satisfying coming from a middling MAC team to go to the national championship. Got to be a little bit better of a feeling, I'm sure.
Oh man. What a game. Is there any more specifics you want to talk about within the game? Any kind of plays or any kind of players you want to highlight?
Man, South Dakota State's a good football team.
Heck yeah, they are.
They got some big men.
Their offensive line are ginormous.
They're huge. And they're not like big statues like the Sam Houston State. They were big, thick dudes, but they were just a bunch of like fat guys, really. Like, that's not really the case for South Dakota State. They're just big, hulking men that just looked intimidating. They were, like, wide. They're like, they were huge. And Tucker Kraft was just another one of them, really. He just was a faster version of them.
Like, that's a legitimate... Give it to him more often.
Yeah, they should. That's a legitimate football team. And they were every bit as advertised, in my opinion. Like, I could totally see why they made the run that they did. If they would have been healthy all year, they would have been a seed. I'm most assured of that. I just want to give kudos to South Dakota State. We beat one of the best football teams I've seen come to Bozeman in a long time, and I'm just super impressed with how we did it.
Right?
And I couldn't be happier to be a Bobcat fan right now. Going to Frisco, Texas, tickets booked. Like I said, we're all ready to go to actually go watch the Bobcats play for national championship. It still hasn't really fully sunk in with me yet, but I just wanted to give kudos to South Dakota State as a football program and their coaching staff. I really liked everything about it, about their program and the way they handle themselves.
Class act. We talked about Coach Stiegelmeier, the players in the press conference afterwards. The whole thing. We gained some South Dakota gained some fans in us
for sure.
Yeah, big time. My
son's been a South Dakota State fan for a while. He just randomly sees them on TV, and he likes the Jackrabbits, so he's always cheering for the Jackrabbits when they're randomly on TV. And they keep playing the Bobcats in like all different various sports, so I think he's like rooting against the Bobcats. It's like, we got to correct that, buddy. But just thought I'd point that out. It's kind of funny.
I do got a question for you. Does your opinion on Coach Vigen, has it changed after Saturday?
It's only gotten better and better. Like this playoff run is like, I've been pretty much a Vigen fan. I was happy with the hire. And after the first like 3 or 4 games, I'm like, all right, Vigen's going to get this rolling. And then it kind of dipped in the middle of the season, but I never wavered from it. Like I was on board with Vigen, but this has really impressed me. His like expertise in the playoffs and the national championship, and we'll talk about that. Like, I think that's such a huge benefit for the Cats going into their first national championship, and like since '84, having a coach who's been there and won it is going to be such an advantage. But I'm absolutely impressed with Vigen, and the fact that Freddie Banks has been hired away to a pretty decent G5 squad in Colorado State only makes me even more impressed with Vigen, that he can hire that quality of an assistant who's going to get hired after one season in the FCS. So like, everything about this made me a bigger and bigger believer in Brent Vigen.
I would agree 100%. I've just been waiting. I don't know why I've been waiting, but I've been waiting for a moment like this, and it just felt good. Like I fully trust Coach Vigen now.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't. Maybe it's just because he's not the rah-rah guy, and I kind of like that. Like, I kind of like the rah-rah kind of guy. I like the Jeff Jote.
Yeah.
But, it speaks for itself when you go to the national championship. When you're rising up to the occasion and winning these games. Man, proof's in the play.
Did you see that video Bobcat Football tweeted out where it was on the sidelines, and then I think it was right when South Dakota State like fumbled their second like hook and ladder or whatever.
Yeah.
And like just the raw emotion of Vigen, he was so happy, and he is not like vanilla. He is in the press conferences and stuff, but like on the sidelines, I think he's a whole different coach. I think he's a whole different coach in the locker rooms. And that was exciting to watch. And yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Vigen.
He's a little bit of a man of mystery to me, because
he is a little bit, right?
We only get to see what's presented to us, but we're getting like sneak peeks into these moments, and you're like, okay, there it is. There's the guy that I would go for battle for. Right.
That's right.
And I think I think now that I just said that, that's what I've been feeling like. I just want a coach where I know, like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna follow you no matter what, because I trust you and just believe in you.
Absolutely. Love it. Let's keep it rolling.
All right, man. Well, I think that's all I really wanted to say a little bit. I don't know. I mean,
we could talk about this game. Yeah, we could talk about this game every day for this entire week, but I think that's a good way to cap it there. I think I got everything out that I was more or less hoping to say. So let's move on to some Golden Coolie questions, huh?
Woo! All right.
Let's see here. Yeah, you pull them up. I'm pulling them up. I got one from T Reno on Twitter. He asks us, I'm laughing because this came in yesterday and I bookmarked it. I come back in now. It said, is Freddie Banks worth his weight in gold? Uh, yes. Yes, I hope we got some gold for him. Because now he's gone. Hope we got a big bag of gold for Freddie Banks. Oh, that's funny. Logging in, seeing that. Sorry, it made me laugh out loud. Unfortunately. Yes, he's worth his weight in gold.
I know Coach Banks is moving on. Obviously, he's probably going to get more money because he's going to FBS, but it kind of feels like a step down.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, for sure, it's obviously a payday upgrade, but game day atmosphere in Fort Collins isn't anywhere near what it's going to be in a typical day in Bozeman.
Right.
And the program, the culture, it's going to be an uphill battle there. But if that's what you want to do, if you want to move up in the profession, you take the good FCS jobs, then you can take the mediocre FBS jobs. It's kind of the next progression, unfortunately.
Yeah, you got to keep grinding. All right, here's one from Cowgirl Cat. She says, I have to say this game was so much fun. The only game I've ever been to that was on par for the 2019 beatdown of the Grizz. The crowd noise for the interception left my ears ringing, and the guy in charge of the music was spot on. No Sweet Caroline, no annoying Simba Cam. We didn't beat the Grizz this year, but we're in the finals. What makes this team better than the 2019 team besides Tommy Mellott?
That's a great question. I just think it's another year of maturity, another year of guys being hungry. I think a lot of that's a continuation of the culture that laid down, like the foundation. I think a lot of it's just the senior leadership. You guys like Daniel Hardy, Mondre Williams, Troy Anderson. And honestly, I think that some of the new staff has been an upgrade, has been a revelation. So I think a lot of it is some continuation of the senior leadership and some new coaches. I think that's just kind of got it going a little bit.
Yeah, you take the foundation that Choate laid, and then you just make it better with the coaching expertise that Vegan brings in and his guys. It's unreal what we've been able to see. One thing I really like about this Bobcat team, too, more than the 2019, we're more steady. 2019 was just tumultuous. We had the highest of highs, we had some low lows, and that seemed to be characteristic of Jeff Choate himself. Coach Vegan is very much more like steady and then more prepared. I feel in general. And I wasn't a fan of it early on. But I mean, like, here we are going to Frisco. So, yeah, I think now we've laid the foundation where maybe this is like where we should be. Like, remember back to February when we got hired? The very first video of him was like, "Hey guys, we're about winning championships here. We're gonna that's the standard." And like, okay, like this is the first thing you're gonna say to the team. Would you believe if you told us back in February that Coach Vegan was going to take us to a national championship?
I think the important thing is that Coach Vegan believed that he would.
Yeah, exactly. Great question, Cowgirl.
Great question. I don't think we have a whole lot of other questions. I got one more on Twitter. I got a couple from Zach on Twitter. He says, North Dakota State has been here before, but so has Brent Vegan. Based off both head coaches' experience, does MSU actually have the coaching advantage in this game? We could delay this question if we wanted to, or we can answer it right now. What do you think?
I think we should delay that. I think that's a really good 20-minute conversation.
It's a good one. So his second question is, MSU has sold out of their tickets. They know a lot of Cat fans who have applied for NDSU tickets. It's interesting. I didn't know that. Do the Cat fans have the advantage? Seems like NDS fans have been there before, but they might mean more to the Bobcats. And that's something we can also talk about later. But I actually do think even if the NDSU fans outnumber the Bobcat fans, I think the Bobcat fans may end up being more energetic and louder. It's been a long time coming. We're riding a huge high right now. Almost everyone who was at that game, the semifinal game, says the best Bobcat environment they've ever been to. People are just, how can I get tickets? How can I get? You see that on Facebook. Any FCS fan group you're in Bobcat Nation, anywhere you look, Bobcat fans are trying to get tickets. This means a huge deal to us. Whereas NDSU didn't even sell out a single playoff game, I don't believe. I think they're just honestly complacent and they're bored. I think that it does mean more to the Cat fans. I think the Cat fans will be rowdier, assuming that the game doesn't get away from us. I think there will be an advantage for the Cat fans.
Yeah. Everything you just said, Ryan. 100%. I kept waiting for you to stop, but you just kept going and you nailed every single point right there. Nice job.
I love when I do that. That makes me feel real good in my heart.
Nothing to add to that. Nothing to add.
All right. Well, I think that's all I got. Is there any on Instagram? It's kind of funny. Like somehow ended up where you're basically check Instagram and I check Twitter. Do we got anything over there?
No, I don't think we've ever gotten a golden coolie on Instagram. Actually, that's not true. A couple guys message us. I am the Instagram kind of curator for the R&R, and I spend too much time looking at Bobcat stuff on Instagram. I probably wish I could delete the Instagram account, honestly, because I spend too much time on it, honestly.
Do you just like want to purge yourself of anything that you find yourself like indulging too much on? Is that how Ryan really operates?
Yeah.
I like this too much, so let's just burn it to the ground.
If it wasn't for Bobcat, just everything, I would get rid of all social media. I really would.
Speaking of social media, I found one more question.
Woo!
MTGCG 1979, Montana Go Cats Go 1979. Nice, I like it. Our roster depth has really come through this amazing postseason run, heading into the national championship. What currently injured Bobcat do you want to see back on the field the most? That one's easy for me, Isaiah Fonte.
Oh, really? I was thinking Chase Benson. I think Chase Benson has the longest road to get back onto the field. I honestly don't think we're going to see Chase Benson again. I know he's going to want to be on there. I mean, keeping him off the field's another story, but his back injury is, I don't think that's going to get solved in the next 3 weeks. I really think we're going to see Ty Alcata.
Yeah, for sure.
Although, hey, I really wanted to give a shout out to Ryan Nort. Just between Sam Houston State and this game, Ryan Nort he was Johnny on the spot. I loved what I saw from that guy.
He's going to be a solid player for sure. Like I still think that Akata is the better player at the moment, but the future is very, very bright for Ryan Nort. But yeah, for me, just the fact that we couldn't get anything going outside of Tommy Mellott offensively, we need a big bruising back to run between the tackles. I mean, Afonso is my guy here. I think our defensive line will be surprisingly okay without Chase Benson, as it's been proven now 2 games in a row against 2 top 5 programs.
Quick question for you, Thorny. Do you think we're going to be able to run the ball traditionally against the Bison?
Only if the passing game can get going. We'll have to open that up via the passing game. So it's possible, but it's going to be a huge uphill battle.
Well, that's really where we've lost in the last in 2019, 2018. We tried to run the ball, tried to out-physical them on the line of scrimmage, and that's never been able to happen.
Honestly, we haven't had much success running the ball with the running backs for 2 straight games.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sam Houston State wasn't a real picnic either. And they had a really good rushing defense, like statistically. But it's mostly Tommy Mellott doing it, which is working. So it is what it is. But traditional running games could be a struggle.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we could talk about that a little bit more. But yeah. All right.
Christy, and I'm sorry, I'm going to mispronounce your name. Gerds, Gerdes on Twitter. Is the ticket system the worst? Is the ticket system for the national championship the worst system you've ever seen? She doesn't have one. She's upset. Yeah, it's a cluster right now. Like, I don't fully understand all the things going on right now. I just know that we knew it would be a cluster. We foresaw it, so we bought our tickets early. That's all I can tell you. I was like, I'd rather have the tickets and try and unload them. And apparently we would have made a mint on ours if we unloaded them. But yes, it seems like it's a cluster. But just be patient. I think tickets will open up. Keep your eyes open. Hopefully you can find one.
It is Wild West. It feels like trying to get this thing dialed in for Frisco. I know you and I have had multiple phone calls, booking things, planning things. If we get to go back in the next couple of years, we'll have this thing dialed in probably. Nothing like the NDSU fans will, but it's been kind of stressful.
Part of the challenge too, right? Cat fans are new to this. NDS fans have been booked, everything booked for weeks. They know what's going on, and and they're probably hoping the Bobcats will make it because they can like price gouge and screw over Bobcat fans. Like, I'm going to buy this $50 ticket. Bobcat fans make it. I'll sell it for $300.
Yeah.
They bought extra tickets just to sell to some people who are desperate for tickets. So, damn the Bison yet again. The fans, program, the players. Ugh. All right,
let's get out of here.
Here.
We gotta go. I'm gonna award the one to Cowgirl Cat. I thought she had a really good question. Which makes this team better than 2019 team? Really good question. Woo! Cowgirl Cat, get at it. Send us your info. I'll send you one of the last golden coolies available. And a sticker.
That is
probably 2 stickers, maybe.
We're not going to make it. The season it's never going to end. And
15 games,
golden coolies.
15 games we're going on.
That's crazy. It's a lot of podcasting.
Really
Well, let's end this particular podcast. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope everyone's excited. Oh man, for Frisco as I am, this is incredible. Thank you for listening again. You can find us on RR Catcast on their Twitter. You can find us on the Bobcat Nation. We post there quite a bit. You can find us on the web, rrcatcast.com. You can always email us at rrcatcast@gmail.com. Thanks to Jeremiah Johnson, our sponsor, and Foley. Let's get out of here with the Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.